Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, where education is rampant, but we can expect aneurysms. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunday. Salacious Sunday, I guess. Sure, that's a good word. I'm a little bit punchy after a fashion. I spent the first several hours of my morning doing work from home. Some pre-month end billing type stuff that will alleviate the stress of the next couple of days, but had to be done today for various reasons. And now I am ready to kick back and relax and hopefully learn something. Right? That's why I do this. That's why I do this. Maybe it's just the pepper jacks. I don't know. Either way, who's here with me on this lovely Sunday morning? Keeverdam, hello. Old Guy Gamer, hello. Sean Uli, hello. At Southern hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Subpar Genitalia, hello. Ryan Rollins, hello. Some Young Nation, hello. Mike R, hello. And then the chat jumped. Because of course it did. The Luke Skywalker 2, hello. The Broken Baller, hello. Your Ridiculous Lunatic, hello. Stargazer Nuts, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. Angela Ariaga, hello. And Shady Grin, hello. And then we have to scroll down a bit. Oh, and then it jumped again. Crimson Tiger, hello. Mr. Scott J87, hello. Swan 732, hello. Mr. Joestar, hello. Atheist Icon, hello. Lady Gopher, hello. Jaeger Pony, hello. Death Glock, hello. Faith Alexandria Oglesby. Ooh. FAO. FAO Schwartz? Do they still have FAO Schwartzes? I remember, wasn't that where like Tom Hanks danced on the keyboard in Big? This is how my mind's working right now, guys. After a morning of work. And now this. No One Nowhere, hello. That One Servant of Satania, hello. Gil Cotto, hello. Faithless, hello. Merle Davis, hello. Ashley Mented, hello. Evil Clipazine, hello. Halsfer, hello. Mike Savage, Blarg. Nicodemus X, hello. Nicodemus, yeah, The Secret of Nim. That was the place I first heard the name Nicodemus. I thought it was a really cool name. So if it's your real name, cool. Even if it's not your real name, cool name. But we're not talking about names today, so far as I know. We are talking about who you should hire, fire, and promote. Who you should hire, fire, and promote. Now you might ask, Scribe, there's nothing inherently catchy or controversial about that title. Why pick this? Well, I don't know. Because I was cleaning off my desktop today, and as I am wont to do, I have several project folders on my desktop of videos that I started working on and stopped working on for whatever reason. Either I lost track of it or I lost interest, but I left the folder on my desktop. And interspersed amongst those was this one folder that just said TEDx, or TEDXX3 or something to differentiate it from all the others. And inside was just this video. So at some point in the past, I pulled this video aside for some reason. And I don't know. This is a complete mystery prize, guys. I have absolutely no idea. So I didn't even start a script, so I'm not even sure I ever watched it. But yeah. So it'll be as much a surprise to you as it is to me, more so than usual, because I don't know. But here it is. And from the location that I can see of the place where it took place, I'm assuming this guy is Scottish. Assuming, I could be wrong. Anyway, be sure to have your bingo cards ready, guys. Who knows what will come out of this? A link to the bingo card is in the description. Thanks again to Frosted Glass for creating the original version of such. And guys, please do, if you decide to share the stream either before or during, if you do so on Twitter, please be sure to tag me, scribe_light, in the tweet. Be sure to put a leading period in front of it or something if you put my name at the top. So I can see that you've shared it and I can thank you personally because I really do appreciate it. All that being said, one more look at the chat. El Vaquero 555, hello. Blake Hanley, hello. Dark Alisle, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. I think that's everybody. All right. So, per usual, going to do a quick sound test. I will play the first couple seconds. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and after that, we will proceed.
Think about your 5 best friends in the world.
Oh, think about my 5 best friends in the world. Okay, you guys hear that? Let me know. My 5 best friends in the world. Well, I guess that would be, and I know this sounds sappy, but it would probably be, well, a couple of my friends I want to keep personal, just for myself. But certainly the top 3 would be my mother, my father, and my sister. And after that, certainly Monkey and Satsu. And there are more than just 5, and I don't rate them like that. But anyway, those are the 5 that I'll mention. So sure, okay, I'm thinking of my 5 best friends. All right. And then?
Who are they?
My mother, my father, my sister, Monkey and Satsu. Okay.
Who understands you most?
Oh, probably my. It's kind of. I mean, I guess it's kind of a combination. I mean, each of them understands me a little differently, I guess. But who understands me the most? Out of that list, I'll probably say my sister.
Now think about the love of your life.
Oh, okay.
Think about your partner, if you have one, or you want one. Partners, who's counting?
The law? Maybe?
If it's not going so well, think about the person you'd like to be with. Now think about where you live.
Okay. I'm thinking about where I live.
Think about the names of some neighbors that live on your street.
Well, I don't know what goes on in Scotland, but I don't know the name of a single neighbor on my street. I live in an apartment building. I think I have had a direct conversation in the course of my time here with maybe 3 people, and I've been here for many years now. And of those 3 people, I don't know that I could tell you their names if I tried. Oh, modern living.
Think about 1 or 2 of the people who are near to where you live.
Well, okay, that's different. I know a couple people who are near to where I live, whatever you want to classify that. Okay, and where are we going with this?
And finally, think about work.
Oh, do I have to? Because I was doing that all morning.
Think about your 5 closest colleagues at work.
My 5 close... Well, I mean, we're a relatively small company, and nearly everyone who's there has been there for years, and we've worked together for years, and they're all fairly close coworkers in that sense. Okay, I'm thinking about work. Thanks for that.
If you have a bad day,
yeah,
who do you confide in?
Nobody. I don't burden anyone else with my bad day at work unless there's something required of me to do so. I just grit my teeth and get it done because that's just how I operate.
Who do you rely on? Who do you trust?
Well, truth be told, I rely on and I trust pretty much everybody there. Like I say, everybody's been there for a long time. Everybody knows their part in the grand scheme of things. When it comes to work, I know that I can rely on all of them, because if I couldn't rely on them, my boss would have dumped them a long time ago, because he only keeps people around that he can rely on. So yeah, everybody. I'm fortunate in that sense.
Hopefully, in your head right now,
Yes.
You have your 5 closest friends in the world,
Sure.
your lover or lovers or future lover,
Uh-huh.
your neighbors,
Uh-huh.
and your 5 closest colleagues.
Okay.
Think about those names.
Okay. I'm thinking about their names, those that apply. We're not even just a minute into this, and I'm still like, where are we going with this?
And draw a circle around those names.
Okay. Okay. I've mentally drawn a circle around those names. Please don't tell me that they're my support group circle or something.
That is your in-group.
Oh, my in-group. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Got it.
How diverse is it?
Excuse me? Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. How diverse is my in-group? Well, assuming that he is using the word diverse in the sense that I believe he is, my in-group includes a black person, a person from Brazil, a person from the Philippines, a person from Mexico, a person from Hawaii, and on and on and on. Oh, and there are some white people in there as well, certainly. I guess I have a really diverse in-group then. Does that make me a good person? Or what does that have to do with anything, might I ask? We don't have diverse on the bingo card. And of course, we're very only briefly into this. So, you know what? I'm going to circle a list because he asked for a list from the audience, from me. So that counts in my mind. So free space and a list. All right. Sounds good to me.
Hold that thought.
I have been.
10 years ago, I was responsible for diversity and inclusion for the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
Oh, well, now I'm seeing maybe why I held this one aside. Great. Okay, so you were in charge of diversity and inclusion for the Paralympic Games. Okay. And?
We had to recruit 200,000 people.
What?
And if we just left it to the market, those 200,000 people would probably have looked and sounded a little bit like me.
What? Did I hear that correctly? Now, admittedly, I don't know what goes into setting up an Olympics. Does it require 200,000 hires? And if it had been left up to the market, they would have all looked like you. Aha. So you were the change maker in that process then? Filtering out people who looked like you because they looked like you? I'm still trying to get past that 200,000 part. Is he talking about like contractors for building stuff or... But by 200,000 people, I don't get that. If anybody knows what he means by that, I'll probably not get to it till the end of the show, but keep that in mind. If you know what he's referring to, I'd be dying to know, honestly.
We would have replicated our own in-group.
We would have replicated our own in-group. Who's we? Everybody on the planning commission of the Paralympics? You know them all that well, do you? I guess.
But we wanted London to be different. We wanted the London Games to represent London, to feel like London, to look like London.
To feel like London, to look like London. Okay, so I assume then that you found a a demographic breakdown of the population of London. You said, okay, we need this percentage of white people, this percentage of black people, this percentage of Asian. That's what you did, right? You made sure that the games had a quota system to statistically represent the city that you're in. That's what you did when you say that, right? I can't imagine another alternative unless you don't mean what you say, I guess.
And one of the things we did differently was to move the location of the interview room from the top floor of a skyscraper in the financial district to a single-story community center in a poorer neighborhood.
Okay, and you did 200,000 interviews from a community center in a poor neighborhood? I guess?
Rather than expecting the candidates to come to us, we went to them. Rather than expecting candidates to adapt to us, we tried to adapt to them.
What? Wait a second. So the candidates you were looking for were specifically from a poor neighborhood? And you adapted to people in a poor Am I misunderstanding something here? And again, 200,000 hires?
You see, diversity is simply the mix of people.
Yes, you're right. It is the mix of people. You're right. The mix of people. That's it. Period. No more. No more need to be said. The mix of people. That's all there is to it, right?
It could be visible characteristics.
Could be? No. It's just the mix of people. Stop. Full stop. Mix of people. That's it. No other qualifiers. Right?
Like gender or race or appearance. It could be invisible characteristics, like thinking style, sexual orientation, disability. But as a general rule, the more diversity we have, the more possibilities exist.
How so? Possibilities for what?
The more potential we have for creativity and innovation.
Really? I don't know, because I've seen some real one-track minded mobs lately of various makeups of individuals all acting completely idiotic. So one does not necessarily follow from the other. All depends on the circumstances, I suppose.
And conversely, a lack of diversity can be problematic.
Problematic? Really? When it's just the mix of people, thinking styles, invisible things. Are all people of one demographic all on the same wavelength? If so, why was there a World War II? Might I ask? Thank you. This is Kyle. Once again, we witness the soft bigotry of low expectations. Let's go to the poorer areas because that's obviously where the minorities live. You know what, Kyle, you've convinced me. Benevolent condescension. I am circling benevolent condescension on the bingo card. And we proceed.
Take driverless cars, for example.
Okay. Driverless cars. Oh, no, I know where this is going. Okay, wait. I know where this is going. This is going to be the driverless car could not see non-white people as clearly as white people when trying to detect when they needed to stop or pause at a crosswalk or something, right? Therefore, the people creating the driverless cars are somehow inherently programming racism into the algorithm. Am I wrong?
A recent Georgia Tech study showed that the AI technology and the camera-based sensors on driverless cars have a harder time seeing black skin compared with white skin.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay. And obviously that means the people programming the cars were racists. Right? I mean, that is the obvious conclusion. There's no technical explanation for that. It's obviously racism. Okay, unless he really draws a really clear line from that little comment to something else, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason is going to be circled here at some point.
And so these driverless cars have a tendency to hit black people more than white people.
Do they? How often do they hit black people? I mean, I'm curious. I don't know. I mean, I've heard of the most egregious accidents where a driverless car or truck that actually had a driver there, because they still have to have a human being behind the wheel, struck somebody at night who was trying to cross a freeway on their bike or something. Now, admittedly, the person crossing the freeway on their bike was pretty stupid to do that in the first place. But even in the dark, the car or the truck couldn't detect the person. And if I remember correctly, the person was white, but that's beside the point. How often? You have a statistic for us, right? Maybe something?
The design team was largely white.
Oh my God, therefore they must all be racist, right? You're going to say that they are all racist, right? You're not going to have a God of the Gap situation where you just sort of leave that hanging and assume that the rest of us will infer the worst of those design teams because they're white, right?
Talking of cars, did you know that in a car crash, all things being equal, a woman is 17% more likely to die and 47% more likely to be seriously injured?
Okay, now on this one, he does have at least a historical point, okay? Not so much in recent years, but for a long time, crash test dummies were just a standard-sized, sort of man-sized situation. And so they would engineer safety features and seat belts and so on based around sort of a average-sized, man-sized person, and not give much consideration to people who were smaller or slimmer or perhaps pregnant. Now, these standards did change, but not until, I forget what it was for America. I know Canada, I think it was in the 90s or something. And in America was in the early 2000s, something like that, where the actual standardized testing became more, let's say, diverse in what they tested for on safety features. Now, you know, mileage is going to vary, no pun intended, company to company over time, but generally speaking, yes, those standards did not account for non-average male-sized test dummies until later on, much later on in the life of the automobile industry. So on that point, he's got a point. I'm not going to argue with that one.
A Stanford University team found that the designers, largely male, used male bodies as the crashed test dummy norm.
Yes, this is true. Does that make the men involved inherently sexist? Like they didn't care about their wives' lives or their daughters' lives while driving in the very products that they were producing? Is that what I am to understand? I mean, yes, the standard they were using for testing was very limited. Agreed, stipulated. What do you mean to say about the mentality or the morality of the people behind the scenes then, might I ask? And what does that have to do with hiring 200,000 people somehow for the Paralympics of 2012, I think it was?
And of course, women's bodies are different.
You don't say.
Or heaven forbid you have a heart attack.
Yeah, heaven forbid I have a heart attack. Okay.
The Center for Cardiovascular Research has found the symptoms and therefore the prescription for men and women are significantly different.
Really? Is that because men and women are different? And maybe I'm off base, but which of those two demographics dies more often from heart disease than the other? Might I ask?
We've only just discovered this because historically drugs were treated on male patients.
Okay. I don't know about that one, guys. I have no idea.
Can you see how our in-groups might matter? Now, they matter personally, of course they do, because hopefully in your head right now, you still have a vague recollection of those friends and neighbors, your lover or lovers, and colleagues.
Yes, I do. And I'm sure that everybody who ever tested a drug on anyone was inherently trying to hurt women or try to see women killed in a car accident, or were inherently racist and didn't care about black people getting hit by one of their products. I'm sure that all of that is true. Even though you didn't say it, even though you can come out and say it directly, you just left it hanging in the air in the God of the Gaps theory of implication in this case. All right, so all of the white developers and designers were racist on the automatic cars, and all of the safety feature scientists in automobiles were sexist because they didn't care about women's lives, and all of the drug manufacturers and developers and scientists and doctors didn't care about women in the way that they tested drugs. That is what I am to take away from your not explaining things, right? Okay, I'm going to circle, leaves out vital context. He is banking on the assumptions and the inferences of the audience to his non-spoken implications far too much. And you know what? I'm already going to circle, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Because it really is for no reason in some of the things he's brought up so far.
And that in-group is very important to us as human beings personally, because goodness knows we all need love and security and comfort.
Oh, tell me about it.
But professionally, that comfort can be seductive.
Oh, okay. I see where he's going.
That comfort can be dangerous.
Dangerous? Oh, is that going back to the whole car accidents and drug testing, right? Their inherent racism and sexism and so on is inherently dangerous. Okay. Actually.
Because that in-group also acts as an unconscious frame of reference for how we see and judge other people.
Does it? Okay, well then in my case, I guess I'm in pretty good shape, right? I mean, I'm morally sound by the recitation of skin colors and ethnicities that I listed off earlier, right? I mean, I'm okay. But someone who doesn't have such a quote unquote diverse roster in their head is not okay, or is susceptible to doing dangerous things and putting other people in harm's way. Is that the implication? I mean, that is the implication here. Is that what I am to understand then?
It acts as our unconscious frame of reference, our benchmark, our norm, for how we perceive things like intelligence or trustworthiness. And these perceptions could be completely invalid based.
Okay. You're making some grand and terrible assumptions about people. You really are. I'm going to back up a little bit because I cut them off, but so who someone associates with, the core group of someone's life, thus dictates their personal integrity, their viewpoint on others, how they assess other people. You can know the mind of someone simply by looking at the appearance of those they associate with. Is that what I am to understand?
Trustworthiness. And these perceptions could be completely invalid based on invalid criteria.
You mean like, I don't know, skin color, and assuming that someone is thus racist if a machine can't spot black skin versus white skin, or sexist because of genitals when it comes to safety features in an automobile, or sexist and or racist or something when it comes to skin color and or genitals when it comes to testing drugs, like that kind of invalid characteristic, like that, you mean? Are you disproving your own theory here, Buckaroo?
So you see, who's in our in-group matters.
Does it, though? I mean, it matters to me who they are, but not so much what they are. Unless you have a very, very different perspective on the world. And not a very productive one.
Now, I'd like to think that my in-group is pretty diverse.
You'd like to think? Well, is it? Or isn't it? And what does that say about your character then? Oh, please tell me.
And of course, diversity could be those physical characteristics that we see, like gender and race.
Which is all you've brought up so far, by the way.
It could also be those invisible characteristics, or it could be things like political persuasion, or preference for alcohol, or voting intention.
Really? Wow, you mean things you didn't bring up? Tell me more about that stuff. About what makes a person an individual versus what makes a person part of a demographic. If you please. Oh, Paralympics Diversity and Inclusion Director. 200,000 hires? I'm really not going to get past that one.
But whilst I think I'm pretty diverse, actually, a cursory analysis of my in-group reveals that there is a good proportion of bald, white, middle-aged guys who drink a little bit, have an appalling sense of humor, and a quite unrealistic perception of their own attractiveness.
Oh, so you're a bad person. I mean, that is what I am to conclude, right? I mean, you've made no effort to seek out friendships or relationships with anyone who didn't resemble you. So you're a racist and a sexist, probably a misogynist, a chauvinist, certainly, an alcoholic, a narcissist, perhaps. Those are all conclusions I can draw from your in-group and the description you just gave us, right? I mean, I'm safe to assume all that, correct? Based on everything that you've said to this point. Or am I making incorrect assumptions about you based on non-determinative characteristics by any chance?
For example. So you see, this isn't good or bad or right or wrong.
What? This isn't good or bad or right or wrong. You just told us it could be problematic. You just told us it could be dangerous. What do you mean it's not good or bad, right or wrong? If I have the wrong perspective on reality based on the people I associate with, people could die. Or did I misunderstand you for the first 6 minutes of this?
It just is. It's a natural and normal part of being a human.
Is it? Oh, I guess the natural, normal part of being a human is problematic and dangerous then, isn't it? Or did I misunderstand you?
That we naturally gravitate towards people like us. In our personal lives, that's fine, because we need that comfort.
But wait. In our personal lives, that's fine because we need that comfort. So in our personal lives, we're all racist, sexist, narcissistic, and that's fine? What?
In our professional lives, that might be the exact opposite of what we need.
Okay.
So when it comes to who you should hire, who you should fire, who you should promote.
Yes. Okay. Now we get to the meat of it, and just about exactly halfway through this talk, because I really want to hear through what filters should I be hiring, firing, or promoting people. I really want to know from a diversity and inclusion expert. I want to know his method for hiring, firing, and promoting people, apparently on the basis of diversity and trying to avoid in-group thinking. Please edify me.
The first thing I'd like to think about is that in-group that's in your head.
Okay, well, if I hadn't already circled a list, I would now circle a list. Okay, the in-group in my head, the first thing I'm thinking about. All right, I got it.
Because that awareness, that self-awareness of who's in our in-group and who's not, is critical if we are to make merit-based decisions.
Who is in my in-group and who is not? So we're not talking about non-determinative, Jesus, the pepper jack is getting me. We're no longer talking about non-determinative attributes. We're talking about individuality. Because, yeah, I can list off the who's in my group, and everyone else is outside of that group. Every individual I see walking down the street is outside of that group, no matter what they look like. But we aren't talking about who here, are we? You haven't talked about the who of someone. And I'm not talking about Roger Daltrey. God damn it. Roger Daltrey. Oh, Pepperjack. You my only friend. I'm not talking about Roger Daltrey or The Who, but you know what I mean. You haven't focused on individual characteristics. You focused on demographic information. I just want to make that distinction because he is switching up his terms so quickly. You might almost believe what he's saying or think that he's talking about what he was talking about before, but he's not. I'm not even sure he knows that.
About hiring, firing, and promotion.
Yeah, tell me about the hiring, firing, and promotion on the basis of visible attributes, and then tell me about the legal peril you put yourself in if you actually do that, and especially if you put it down in writing.
And with that awareness comes the second step. The second step is simply to change our behaviors, to act differently.
Because our behaviors are inherently wrong to begin with, based on the appearance of those in our in-group, which obviously determines how we think and behave towards other people that are not in our in-group. Got it.
Now, the bad news is that all the diversity training in the world won't necessarily help. It'll be insufficient.
So your position and your expertise in that position is irrelevant. All right, well, by his own admission, I'm going to be circling speaker should not be in the current position or occupation, because he's just admitted that despite the fact that he is a diversity and inclusion expert / director, whatever, he is still rife with sin.
But what will is socializing and mixing with people who are as different from you as you can handle.
Oh, okay. So I'm supposed to target people for relationships based on what they look like. I mean, I can't know what they are like as people because I'm not a mind reader. So unless I'm looking at someone because I've seen some kind of survey they took or questionnaire they filled out, I'm targeting people for relationships first and foremost because they are not like me on a surface level. No, that sounds completely respectful and totally sane.
Now, you could do that consciously. You could reflect on your in-group and think, crikey, they really are all like me.
Crikey!
Or it could be simply putting yourself in the path of serendipity.
The path of serendipity. The path of serendipity. That sounds like some kind of esoteric self-help book, like The Secret or something. The path of serendipity. I mean, I might have to use that for something.
And being open to the possibility of meeting different people.
Yeah. That's the path of serendipity. I thought that just sort of like living in the world or being social, which admittedly I'm very bad at, but whatever.
That's what happened to me.
Oh.
I went to graduate school in the United States.
Oh, okay. So you're a Scot by birth, but you came here for schooling. All right, good. You exposed yourself to new possibilities and new cultures by traveling halfway across the world. All right, that's legit. I can appreciate that. I hope someday to actually travel to Scotland, where some of my ancestors come from, and also where my friend Tailed Feature lives. I would really like to actually hang out with him at some point, maybe after the pandemic's over with and I find some way to gain some time off from work.
And at induction, I was sat next to Dawn, Doreen, and Ashani, 3 black women.
Wow, 3 black women. Well, tell me, what did their skin color tell you about them before you spoke to them? I am dying to know.
I didn't consciously sit there, but they were chatty, and they were very tolerant of my ignorance, and we got talking, and we became friends.
Wow, that's great. Okay. And what significance is it that they're black? Please tell me why it is significant that they were black. And I will say, credit where credit is due. At least he gave them their names before he mentioned their race. You won't see that very often in news stories and stuff where it's like, the first black woman has been elected to blah, 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 or something like that. More often than not, they'll just talk about things that have nothing to do with the individual and everything to do with the optics. So, all right, like I say, credit where credit is due, minor as it is. Subpart genitalia says anecdote, Scribelight. Well, the square says childhood or family anecdote. This is not childhood, and it's not family. And while I'm willing to give some leeway on a lot of the, interpretations or extrapolations of things, it really is about calling back to something formative about themselves, some direct experience of their nurture, nature, origins, something very direct. So in this instance, I'm going to pass. I will take arguments to the contrary after we're done with the show. Who knows? Maybe he'll bring up something about his childhood or his family in the meantime, and I'll circle it. But for that one instance, I'm going to be a little strict. Just 'cause. I'm a meanie like that.
They dragged me out to countless bars. I disliked their music profoundly. I still do. But we became really good friends.
So doesn't that make you a racist somehow? Kind of? Or okay, never mind.
I recall actually when I went to Ashani's wedding that I was the only white guy there.
And that has what to do with what? I mean, you seem to be very focused on skin color. You are very focused on skin color. There's a word for that,
And I recall vividly the photograph of the wedding party on the beach, because it's pretty easy to spot me.
Oh, well, did the driverless cars spot you? I guess they probably did, right?
But of course, whilst that was a relatively rare experience for me, that is, of course, the daily lived experience for many people.
What is? Going to weddings? Oh, you mean being the only one of a particular race in a situation? Okay. And that means what? Because if you're going to say something to the effect of, and I'm just guessing here, I don't know. Let's say you have one black person in a conference room full of white people, right? I mean, what is the inferred conclusion there? Well, that business is racist, right? That business is discriminatory, right? Okay, well then that wedding was what then? In comparison, with you being the only person of your race amongst a whole bunch of other people of another race. Were they humoring you? Were you the token white person? Were they all privately giggling to themselves about the novelty of having you there? Not on the basis of who you were, not on the basis of your friendship with the bride, but simply because of what you looked like. I mean, that would be what I would have to compare and contrast with. Again, I'm guessing as to what he's going to say next or imply next, but I've heard it a million times before.
And now, through serendipity, through conscious and unconscious things, I have an in-group which has those black women, those three wonderful friends of mine, alongside the white guys too.
Wow. Did you give yourself a medal for that one?
So this matters. It matters because our world is becoming quite polarized.
Oh, polarized. You mean like dividing people up on the basis of their race for no good reason?
But actually we have it within ourselves to decide who we mix and socialize with.
Oh, okay. So there's a better way of deciding who to associate with, because to associate with someone who looks like you is something you should avoid. So it is better to discriminate on the basis of appearance who you form relationships with, is what I'm hearing.
Have you ever felt lonely or left out?
Look into my eyes.
Excluded or passed over?
Whatever.
Were you ever last to be picked for games lessons or PE at school?
Well, yes.
Ever passed over for promotion?
No. But then I wouldn't know if I was passed over, because most times I just kind of got a bump in my pay grade or something. I don't know. I was always in jobs that didn't really have a promotion situation. But the couple of times that I did seek out a advancement in, I don't know, working situation, I got it, but mostly because I sought it out. I could have just sat there and done, bill collecting forever. But at one point I said, hey, a job opened up in the contract processing department. Maybe I'll try that out. And I did. And because I'd been there a while and I got, I guess it was a promotion. It was a little bit more money, kind of, but it was it was more a lateral thing than anything else. Anyway, sorry, I'm trailing off. He's inspired me to think about my past for the 7th time.
And then did somebody include you? You could be that somebody to somebody else.
Oh, could I? Should I be that somebody to somebody else because of what they look like?
Because by definition, if you are enlarging your in-group, then someone else is doing likewise.
And my in-group is defined as what? And letting somebody into my in-group who isn't there is defined as how? Again? Race. Correct? Gender. Correct? That's all you've brought up. You've said the invisible things, but the initiating factors are always race and or gender. Correct?
Enlarging your in-group and changing that unconscious norm, that reference point, will help you personally and professionally.
Will they? What if the people I let in are professionally incompetent? I mean, does skin color and or gender thus determine the value of someone as an employee, as a coworker, as an in-group member? Or is it about who they are? Is it about the content of their character and not the color of their skin that should be first and foremost? Or am I just completely off base here?
It will help somebody else. It will help all of us.
Uh-huh.
We know, for example, that scientific research is more accurate when diversity is considered.
Okay, well, now that is the broadest fucking statement I have heard today. Diversity of what? Are you talking about like statistical research? Then yeah, you want to get a diversity of opinions, a diversity of input to have some kind of semi-accurate estimation of what people think or how the world is or something. But diversity as a word does not necessarily mean the same thing in every context, especially scientifically. What are you talking about?
We know that driverless cars would be safer when diversity was considered.
Right, because all of the people developing driverless cars are racists. Right? I mean, you're going to say that out and out without qualification at some point, correct? You're not going to leave it hanging in the air to be inferred or assumed. You're going to make that very bold statement, correct?
We know that women would have a better survival rate in car accidents if diversity was considered.
Yes, if they had tested safety features on differently sized test dummies and not had an industry standard for a long time that people just followed mechanically without asking, sure. Is that an inherent sign of sexism or an inherent sign of misogyny? No. Yeah, it's one of those things where you can be half having a point while leaving the rest of the point completely in the gutter.
So, when it comes to hiring people.
Tell me what it comes to hiring people, because so far, aside from moving your hiring interview office to a poor neighborhood on a one-floor building, I haven't heard any advice on what I'm supposed to do as a proverbial hiring manager to ensure that my workforce is not reflective of my in-group. You've got about 4 minutes left. Tell me, oh, tell me true.
Before you hire anybody,
Yeah.
reflect on your in-group.
Before I hire anybody, reflect on my in-group. Not reflect on their skills or experience or the person in front of me. Think about whether or not they fit my in-group? Really?
At London 2012, had we not done that, we would have ended up with people like me. But by reversing the power dynamic between candidate and interviewer, by simply moving the location of the interview room, we created 200,000 wonderfully diverse, creative people.
So you discriminated in hiring on the basis of race and sex, is what you're telling me. Across 200,000 people, you looked in a mirror and said, no, as your filtering procedure. Is that what I am to understand?
Ensure that you have diverse long lists. Make sure you have mixed interview panels and ask the same consistent questions to all of the candidates.
Really? Well, what does it matter if a I don't know, middle-aged, white, slightly balding man sits down and is asked those same questions, he has less a chance to be hired on the basis of his non-determinative characteristics. Or did I just misunderstand you, Mr. Diversity and Inclusion Director?
Simple things that will make a big difference.
Oh yeah, no, it makes a big difference if you're racist and sexist and you're in charge of hiring. It really does make a big difference.
Before you fire anybody, reflect again on your in-group.
Whoa. Before I fire anybody, so I have to set aside the quality of their performance, their behaviors at work, anything that they as individuals are doing. And I have to stop for a second and say, golly gee, scribe, does this person fall within your in-group? Because if they don't, maybe you should let that behavior pass. Maybe you should let that lack of quality in their work slide. You know, because they don't look like the kind of person you hang out with. Really, dude? Really?
Are you using valid criteria?
I don't know. Job performance, attendance, punctuality, quality of output, that kind of criteria. You know, the criteria that matters. You know, merit.
Comfort is fine in your personal life. It's perhaps rather invalid when it comes to dismissing people.
You know, even though he's being very couched in his language, I don't think he could be more clear in what he is instructing us to do.
I meet so many organizations that spend so much time and effort on diversity recruitment efforts.
Yeah, and I listen to a lot of people talking about their diversity and inclusion efforts, their solutions, their struggles, their advice. I listen to a lot of it too. So I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you in the trenches, buddy.
When those people tend to be the first to be the victims of any redundancy program in those same organizations. We need to ensure that we don't dismiss those who don't shout loudest.
Okay, well, I realize we do not live in a perfect world. And I realize that humans are inherently imperfect beings. But dismissing somebody who looks like someone outside of your in-group, but for reasonable cause, is not a sin.
And before you promote anybody, again, reflect on your in-group.
Right. Discriminate promotion possibilities on the basis of race and gender and hair pattern. Right?
But also reflect on some basic things that will help us make more valid decisions.
Oh, like merit, like job performance and tenure and any accomplishments they've achieved in the company to that point, or, you know, stuff like that, right? You know, the things that actually matter. Please tell me you're at least going to acknowledge that part of things, really.
We know, for example, that men tend to put themselves forward for promotion when they can fulfill 50% of the job criteria. Whereas women tend to hold back till they can fulfill 90% of the job criteria.
We know this. Okay, I'll stipulate. Men are more competitive, more ambitious, more assertive when trying to achieve something in business. Generally speaking. It's not a hard and fast rule, generally speaking. Okay, so what you're saying is women are timid. What a sexist.
So we need to challenge bravado wherever it persists.
No, no, no. You don't challenge bravado. You look at the merits of their argument. If someone is seeking a promotion, if someone is going for a promotion, seeking a elevation in responsibility or something else, that by itself is an attractive attribute. Doesn't matter what their sex is, or it shouldn't, ideally. But if someone does not show ambition, if someone, by all perception, shows that they are comfortable where they're at, then the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, comes to mind. That's the difference. That is the stark difference. But you want us to filter people by gender and not by action or individual ambition. Apparently.
Exists.
Yeah.
So, why does this matter?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm waiting for you to tell me.
Well, our world is becoming more polarized.
Really? And would it by any chance be because of people like you who are profiting off of polarizing it? Oh, diversity and inclusion, executive, director, officer, whatever it was.
And our organizations could do better.
Better as far as racial and sexual discrimination?
In a political void, in a social void, work is actually a wonderful vehicle for creating inclusion and togetherness.
Inclusion and togetherness while filtering hiring and promotion practices based on your personal social life. Got it.
It actually allows us to create better decisions.
Better decisions. Better. Got it.
Work is the vehicle to allow us to come together to improve things for all of us.
Is it? Is it really? If we're assessing everyone on their race or their gender, or we're taking a look at our own social lives and saying, what is the moral calculus of who I spend my time with? Is that really better, you think?
If you think that making a difference yourself isn't going to be enough, think again.
Oh, I'm thinking again every time you speak.
Culture is what you do. And you all do hire, fire, and promote people.
No, I don't. Actually, I've never been in a position anywhere that I've worked where it was my responsibility to hire, fire, or promote someone. I have been asked for my opinion on job candidates where I've sat in on the interview. And admittedly, that hasn't been very often. I think all of 3 times in my entire life have I sat in on an interview and then were asked what I thought. But, okay. Sorry, tangent.
If you think that basically this isn't enough, or your impact won't be enough, remember what Anita Roddick said. She said that if you think you're too small to make an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. Thank you.
What? What? If I think I'm too small to make an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. Is that a malaria joke? And I mean, the only person I can think of who might think that they're too small to make an impact, would be Weibo Jones. But I'm pretty sure she has a much higher opinion of herself than a mosquito. I think. Okay. I'm going to review the bingo card. and then I'll take your comments on it. Plays victim. I mean, he kind of said that he was the bad guy and a victim of his own thinking, because he used himself as the model of the villain in this instance. Yeah, I'm going to circle plays victim. It might be a little abstract, but all the same. Feminism, he never really brought up anything that I could even abstractly call feminism. School to prison pipeline, no. Childhood or family anecdote, no. Microaggression, no. Systemic institutional, I don't think he ever brought it up, but he was talking about HR and everything. Okay, I'll grant that one at least. Takes credit for something done by others in their demographic. No. He was downplaying and condescending his own demographic the whole time. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. The path of serendipity. I mean, I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I'll tell you, I like it. So it's a new buzz phrase to me. Path of serendipity. I like that one. Equity, no. Rape culture, no. Toxic, no. Anecdote that probably never happened. I didn't hear anything in there that sounded inherently suspect. Marginalization, marginalized. I mean, it was kind of implied with his whole let's take the office from the top floor down to the poor neighborhood. So, yeah, I'll circle that one. White supremacy privilege. Yeah, he talked about, all the developers were white and they were white and this, that, and the other. So it's kind of in there. Wage gap, no. Patriarchy. He talked about how it was all men who designed the safety features for the car and it was all men who tested the drugs. So I think that's implied. But let's see. Word salad. I didn't think anything was a word salad. I mean, he made sense, coherently speaking, the entire time. So, yeah, cultural appropriation, no. Gratuitous pausing for effect, no. Not that I noticed anyway. So I'll take your arguments elsewise, guys, before I display the bingo card. I'm going to scroll up a little bit here. BG says, being so annoying until there is a change. Well, that's, squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's not a terrible strategy, but it all depends on the context. Faith Alexandria Oglesby, because humans are animals in inconvenient analogies. Right. When you need them to be bad, humans are bad, but they can be virtuous when you need them to be virtuous when you're trying to make an argument, I guess. Della Hayes, I have gone to sleep with a mosquito in the room multiple times. What's her point? I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about malaria, like you're too small to make a difference, a mosquito, a tiny little thing, could kill you. So, or make you ridiculously ill. So I guess, it's like there are no small parts, there are only small people, that kind of thing, that kind of thinking, I guess, I suppose. I don't know. Renovescio, he's promoting hiring and firing based on gender. It's feminism. Yeah, okay. Now, you know what? There was enough sentiment there to fit within. So, okay, I'll circle feminism. All right. You're not wrong. I'm willing to go a little extrapolation on some things. Deathglock, his entire talk was a score against whites. Well, I already circled make something about race for no reason and pretty much did. If only he did wage gap. He never brought up pay. If he had brought up pay, we'd have a bingo. But unless you guys have something that he said in there that is wage gap worthy, he never did bring up paying someone versus another differently. Let's see. You're ridiculous, Luna. That ending was word salad. Oh, the mosquito thing? I mean, in the context of his talk, it was awfully bizarre. But if you take it by itself, like just being small doesn't mean you can't make a difference, I get it. it's not the most comfortable, I guess, analogy to what he was talking about, but it makes sense by itself. So, yeah. Zemgoa, I think I know what the speaker is saying. Basically, if you think you're small time and not worth someone's time, there might be someone smaller and trying to annoy you who is the small time. Maybe, I guess. Trucking with the tablet. Hi, Scribe and Company wasn't notified. I'll have to catch this one later. Well, no worries. It'll be here for you when you have time. Maniac Man 2030. He didn't bring up pay, but he did bring up women and promotions, which is part of the pay gap. Oh, I don't. Okay, I don't know, guys. Do you accept Maniac Man 2030's argument there? If you accept that as a wage gap reference, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2. So 1, you agree, 2, you don't. Was the whole ambition towards promotion, does that fall within the wage gap argument? I'm seeing a lot of 1s. That one sort of standard says 2. I don't feel good about that stretched bingo. Okay. 1.5. I think we have a bingo addiction. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like arriving at a bingo in these things, but I want it to be legitimate. I don't want to just be too arbitrary about it. Like the square says what the square says. A lot of people are saying 1. But Satania's argument and Quinn the Cultist's warning makes me wonder, are you guys just trying to get to a bingo, or are you being honest about it? I mean, I don't want to lose faith in you guys, but I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's why I asked the question. I would love to get to a bingo on this one. Mr. Scott J87, wage gap is also about promotions. No one nor. He broached the gender disparity. Okay. All right. You convinced me. It's not a direct reference, but it is a mechanical reference. Guys, for all intents and purposes, we have a bingo. Marginalized marginalization, abstract, but all the same. White supremacy privilege, abstract, but still the same. Make something about race, that was directly so. Wage gap and patriarchy, implied. And you know what? Since this guy was relying so much on what was implied versus what was said, you know what? I don't feel too bad about it now. Because he was all about implication without actually taking a stand. He was all about implication without actually coming out and saying it. Standing by the convictions of what he was suggesting. So on that sentiment, I'll let it go. Won't do it all the time, guys. I'm not saying this is going to be a every time kind of thing. I let a lot of leeway go here, but then the theme of his presentation was a lot about saying something without having to commit. Very sort of cowardly in a fashion, sort of letting the audience do the work for you in a fashion. So we'll go with that. And for reference, here is the completed bingo. Holy cats, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, my past self that set this one aside but didn't actually turn it into a regular old scripted video, whatever I saw in it at that time must have been enough for me to know it would be worthwhile, at least as a TEDx, at least as an examination. But I think that's it, guys. We've already gone a little bit over time. I try really hard to keep these to just about an hour, but we always end up going a little bit over. So, them's the breaks. But I'm going to wrap it up here, guys, because I need a break. I especially need a break from the computer for a bit. I've been staring at the screen all day. But some staring has been more entertaining and worthwhile than others. And this broadcast has certainly been more worthwhile because of the content, because of the conversation, and because of all of you. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday for this exploration into hiring practices, the virtuous kind versus the evil kind. I hope you all learned something, or at least found some entertainment out of it. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you all for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to hear more from me, or Satsu 2 Cents, or Ranting Monkey, some very diverse people that are in my in-group, you can find all three of us tomorrow night, Monday night, on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, that was the Pepperjack talking. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Lords of the Night. And with the late donation, thank you, No One Nowhere. Your shared consternation is appreciated. As is yours. As is yours, guys. Like I say, I wouldn't nearly have the incentive or drive to do these things if it weren't for you guys. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for sharing the stream. Thank you so much for liking it. Thank you so much again for your generosity. I hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday. Be safe and well. If you're not well, get well soon, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, guys.